Good morning and welcome back to the channel. It's a beautiful early fall, late summer morning here, kind of in that segue, that handoff period. Cool mornings, cool evenings, a lot of sun. It's pretty. So I hope it's nice where you guys are. Today's topic is narcissists will always tell on themselves. They really will. I'm going to explain to you why and how that is today. So if you are out of the narcissistic relationship, or you're on this channel, or you figured out, or starting to figure out who they are, you will realize that when you really think about it and you look back on the details of that relationship, the narcissist tried to tell you and tried to tell me exactly who they really are a lot of times. We just we weren't listening, and we weren't able to listen because you're stuck in the narcissistic spell. You're in the trauma bond, and you're in that really foggy, disoriented, can't tell up from down sort of state of existence. But they tried to tell us. So here I want to prove it to you that they really did. And hopefully you'll be able to look back on the relationship you had, and I do hope it's past tense, and see that your narcissist let it slip as well in many, many, many ways. So let's start with the first major section. They will often blurt out truths about themselves when they are either frustrated or desperate. So yes, I've told you this before and it's true. They will actually give you the honest truth. Sometimes. Yes, they're chronic liars, they're deceivers, there's no doubt about that. But they will actually tell you the truth on occasion. For instance, they're trying to get you back. You've left them, they didn't expect it. They're in emergency mode, panic mode, and they're going to start blurting things. Or they might do it if you're in a fight. One of your, you're breaking up for the 18th time and things are getting kind of out of control. And they feel like, I really want to punish this person. So I think I'll give them a little dose of what's been going on. And they will blurt out something. And these little times, they're telling you the truth. It's just we ignored it. So, one example, I'm going to give you a bunch of examples today. This might be a longer video. We'll see. So, if you're in an argument with the narcissist and they're getting flustered or whatever the case, they might just say something like, I've been talking to other people the entire time. This whole relationship, I've been talking to other people. Well, you know what? That's true. It's not just true because they said it, it's true because they're chronic cheaters. Any narcissist, in my opinion, who can cheat, who has the ability, the situation, the setting, the looks, and whatever else you need, which isn't a lot these days with social media and dating apps. Almost anybody can do this. Um, any narcissist who can cheat is going to cheat in some way, shape, or form. Even if that's just mentally, it's talking behind your back and other things, setting things up. Usually, though, it's also physical. So, but they're flustered and they want to get one up on you and they want to drive a stake in and they want to make sure that they beat you to the punch. They're always assuming you're doing what they're doing, and I'll get to that later. But they might say, "Yeah, I've been talking to other people this whole relationship." Gotcha. Then later on, they might say, "Oh, well, I was just lashing out. I was just, it's not true. It's not true." Yes, it was. We just weren't listening. It was true. Another thing they might do, heard this 1,000 times, maybe you did as well. I don't trust myself to make good decisions. I don't trust myself. They might even say it's not that I don't trust you, it's that I don't trust myself. That's accurate. That's a true statement. Narcissist does not trust a soul on this planet, especially themselves, because they know what they're into. The narcissist knows what shady crap they're doing behind your back. They know what it is. They don't trust themselves and they don't trust you from the word go, not for the first second of the relationship, which is also why they mostly all cheat because they're going to make sure that they think that you're doing whatever it is they're doing. Since they're cheaters, you must be a cheater and they've got to get to it first. They've got to beat you to the punch. But yeah, don't trust myself. They don't. This one's a great one I use all the time, but it's so important. They might tell you, "Well, I have backups, and I have backups for my backups." They'll tell you the truth, and that's normally maybe at the end of the relationship or to throw it in your face at some point. Again, they're going to later probably deny that they meant it, but they'll tell you that. So you might have broken up with them finally, and you reach back out to them because you're still trauma bonded, and you're just to check on them, see are you okay? And I have backups. I have backups for my backups. Well, they do, and they were seeing people in the relationship, and they had people lined up ready to go as soon as you guys were done, and probably before that. Another thing they might say, they might you might catch them talking to someone of the opposite sex, which might I'm sorry. You will catch them talking to people of the opposite sex in inappropriate ways. And they might just say, I like the attention. And you're like, what? You like this person's attention? Mine is not enough? And the answer to that question is no. No one person can ever or will ever be good enough for the narcissist. So as a side note, you think that they went and found somebody else and now they're just good. Oh, they're great. They're aces. No, they're not. No one's attention is good enough to satisfy the narcissist. So they might say that. I like the attention. Boy, that's a hard one to hear, but it was true. They love other people's attention, and yours is never going to be enough. Um, they might tell you this is a really popular one. Drop comments if you heard this one. I sabotage relationships. I always self sabotage. They might even have said to you things like, at the end of the relationship, I know my patterns and that I self sabotage, and it made it impossible for you to be with me. Well, that's true. That's an accurate statement. They know their patterns, they know they self sabotage, and they know that they make it impossible for a decent, normal, healthy, stable person to be with them. What part of those things are not true? It's all true. They tell the truth sometimes, but in doing so, they're telling on themselves. They're flat out telling you, yeah, I'm not relationship material. It never works. I will blow anything and everything up always. Accurate, right? We found out. Another thing they'll blurt out. So you know when the deval started, when that famous, not so actually great love bomb thing ended, they start the abuse. Maybe at the end of the relationship, you brought that up, and they said, "Well, it could have been anything. Anything could have triggered that." And maybe they got really stupid and played victim and said, "I just needed so much love and understanding." Just hogwash. But they're playing the victim because you finally ended it because of their abuse, and then they're of course going to play the victim. You just didn't love me well enough. You weren't understanding enough. But what they said initially was true. In order to start the deval, anything could have triggered that. You could have left a smelly sock somewhere, and that triggered the deval. Anything. That's true. In other words, translated, I was going to start abusing you no matter what you did. It wouldn't matter if you were good as gold to me every day, which you probably were and I was. I was going to find something somewhere along the line to start this whole devaluation process because that's what I do. See, these are how the ways they tell on themselves. You might have heard other things. Drop comments below because I'd like to hear your account of it. So those are the way they blurt it out. Here's another way they do this. I don't have as much for this. It's a short one. The terms they use tell on themselves. There's a lot of examples, I think, if you could really think about it, but I've just listed a couple here. This is a big one. You know, the term regulate or regulate your emotions, that is something that is very prominently used to describe narcissists, right? Because we know that they cannot regulate their emotions. People will blame this on brain chemistry and it's a part of it's a mental disorder, blah, 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 blah. No, they have demonic attachment. They're evil. They're given over to the powers of darkness, and therefore they are out of control. They don't have the ability to be stable, to process things. When traumatic events and difficult things come their way, they have no stability, no ability to process and regulate what is happening. That's why they need other people, so they can vomit that vitriol onto other people, and that is what regulates them. See, they always have to have someone they're beating up. Psh, psh, psh. As long as they have someone that's they're punching and beating up, they're good. Because that not good, but they're regulated in a sense. So anyway, they will sometimes tell you, and I heard this as well. Another person I just recently talked to had the narcissist say this to them when they got into a spat. They'll say, I just get overwhelmed and I can't regulate. Or they'll say, don't talk to me. Don't talk to me. I'm dysregulated. I'm dysregulated. That means they can't regulate their emotions. In other words, they are telling you, you're dealing with a person who cannot do basic human things. I can't regulate my emotions. I need you to do it for me. While I'm thinking of that one, you might even have heard, I need someone to protect me from myself. Because I heard that one too. Goes along the same lines. They can't take care of themselves. They need others around them at all times. That's why they have backups for days and days and days. Just in case your relationship ends, they've got to have somebody to go right onto because they can't regulate. So they'll tell you that. And the one I already mentioned, backups. Having backups, yes, the regulation and backups are terms that are used by the public in different ways, but they're very specifically narcissistic things. When you say someone has backups, we got that basically from narcissistic practices. That's a narcissistic term to have backups, so backup supply. Being unable to regulate, those are things that we associate with toxic and narcissistic people. So do you see, they're telling on themselves. When they tell you they can't regulate or they're dysregulated or that they have backups, they're basically saying, I'm a narcissist. Just to let you know. And then later on they go, whoa, and they'll cover back over their tracks. So the terms they use oftentimes will tell you that they're a narcissist. Moving on. They will make mistakes. They are human, kinda, but they're also chaotic. Everything with them is the emotional roller coaster. They're everywhere. They can't regulate emotions. They're frazzled, and they will make mistakes. Also, because it's the same principle. He who digs a pit will fall into it. That's a proverb. Well, that's a factual statement. In other words, if you are constantly getting yourself involved with things you should not be into and doing shady stuff behind people's backs, sooner or later it's inevitably going to catch up with you. Your sin will find you out. It's impossible that it won't happen at some points throughout your life. So they'll make mistakes. For instance, they may leave certain things out at your house or at their house that you find. Can they do this intentionally? They can, to gaslight you. But do they do this unintentionally? Sometimes they do. For instance, maybe one day you were at the narcissist's house and you saw that they have had a game hidden under a cabinet that you weren't even looking for it. You just happened to come upon it. And maybe this was a game of a sexual nature. And you thought to yourself, we don't do this. Who are you using this game with? Well, somebody. They either have or were planning to do that with someone, but they weren't planning on you to catch them. If you do catch them, what they'll do is they'll blame you and they'll play the victim. And they'll say, well, I'm not going to do this today. And they'll give you silent treatment. That's how they do it. They're not going to fess up to it, but they're going to have shame that you caught them. Maybe another way, a name pops up on a phone. Maybe you're sitting with a narcissist. Most of the time they have things silenced and to where nothing will ever pop up because they don't want anyone to see. But maybe they didn't. Maybe they had their settings off for that day or whatever it was, and a name pops up, and it's a person of the opposite sex of you, the same sex of you and their opposite sex. And maybe it's a name you've heard of before, and maybe it's got a little heart emoji next to it. And you go, who's Jason? And it's got a heart next to it. Well, you just caught them because they made mistakes. They're telling you right there they're cheating on you, but they're doing it unintentionally. So that's one way. You'll catch them gaslighting you. I said sometimes they intentionally leave things out or intentionally do something. Well, maybe they took your keys and they put them somewhere that you would never normally put them. And then they make you search for the keys. And then they make fun of you while you do it. And then maybe they do it so many times or in such a way that you start to say, wait a minute, wait a minute. I know I didn't leave my keys there. I might have left it 5,000 other places, but I know I did not put my keys in an old book bag that I never use. Well, guess what? You caught them. They overplayed their hand. They were gaslighting you, hiding things from you so they could make fun of you and cause confusion, but they did it to the point where you realize, no, no, no. Or maybe they would open the door when you were in the bathroom, for instance, sometimes, so that they could come by later and say, you left the door open. Do you want the kids to see you? Do you want someone to walk in? Are you a pervert? But you got used to this. And I know, guys, this is sick, right? I get it. Some of you have been through worse, but they'll do that and they'll come back along maybe later on and they'll blame you for it and say, yeah, you left it out. But you catch on and you say, no, no, no. I made sure this time that I closed and latched that door before I ever came in here to take a shower or whatever. I know I did. So the only way that that door came open is if somebody else unlatched it. They overplayed their hand. They showed you they were gaslighting you. You caught them. They'll let things slip about their whereabouts unintentionally. Again, it's takes discernment because are they trying to gaslight you intentionally or did it just slip because they're constantly doing shady stuff? They might have told you, you had a festival you wanted to go to, and they said, "Oh, I can't go to that festival. I've got this going on." So you went by yourself or with your child or whatever, and then later on, 3 months later, you realize they said they did go to the festival. You're talking about last time I went there, and they go, "Yeah, yeah, I saw the parade," and you're like, "Wait a minute. You mean the parade that was supposed to be going on when you said you couldn't come? You were there that night? You were at the festival?" And then they get quiet and they change the subject and they start blaming you for something else. They let it slip. See, they did go to that festival. They just didn't go there with you. Think about it. Just gonna take a sip of coffee here. So, moving on, their deliberate actions. Um, they will flirt with people right in front of you. This gives them away. They'll do it right in front of your face, unashamedly. Once they know they have you and you're under the spell that is the trauma bond, they'll just do it. They'll triangulate you with people at dinner, at work, if you worked with the person. They'll triangulate you with family members, anybody they can. And they'll flirt just brazenly right in front of your face. Give the winky eyes, they give whatever, little smirk to people right in front of your face. That's telling you they're unfaithful, they're a cheater. But you put up with it because you were trauma bonded. They will bring up other exes all the time. I'm not going to go into detail on this, but you'll hear names. Josh, it was Jason, it was John, it was Kurt, it was always somebody coming up. And they'll act like they don't even know who these people are. Then they'll say, oh, wait, I did date that person. So they're telling you that they're a cheat, a crook, an unfaithful, untrustworthy person. They tell you that, right? Um, they love to walk ahead of you. Other people bring this up, but it's very, very true. You go someplace in the public, maybe you go to a little market, they're selling produce and stuff. You go ahead. You go look at the tomatoes down. They got some nice tomatoes down there. I'm gonna stay back here and look at the candles. We don't have to be together. We don't have to be together the whole time. You can go up there. I do my thing. Why do they do that? Because there's probably somebody there that they want to either triangulate you with or possible new supply source. Whatever the case, they don't want anyone there to think that they're taken. They're available. They're always available. Remember? That's how they do it. And another way they prove that is they will often not wear their wedding bands or engagement rings or whatever else. When they go out on their own, when they're going to the local department store and you're not there, you better believe that thing's not going to be on their finger. They just in case anyone there might think. Now, if they're going someplace that they're trying to keep up the appearance, see, I'm a relationship material type of person. I can do this. I see, I've got someone in my life. I've got stability. Then they're going to wear it. but it just depends on what they're trying to accomplish. So, yeah, they're going to forget to wear their wedding ring a lot, or they're going to hide it, take a picture with them. Where's that hand? Well, it's hidden under their butt. They don't want everyone to see that. So, anyway, oh yeah, along those lines, take pictures with the narcissist. You know what that's like. I mean, it's like clockwork. You're going to see that narcissist 99% of the time far enough away from you on a bench or wherever it is so that they can later crop you out of the picture and use that to appear what? Single. So yeah, they're telling you they don't want to get too close. They're not all in. They're never all in on the relationship. And they're telling you that in 1,000 different ways. And they're telling you they want to appear as single. Think about all the things I've already mentioned. We missed them, didn't we? Or we caught them and we let them slide. But there's 1,000 different ways. If you really look back on the narcissist you were with, you would see that was the case. Let me give you the last one because this video is getting long, but I've still got some more to say. Projection is the biggest one that they use. Projection is where something that is true of you, you're going to accuse the other person of doing or being. So you're taking whatever is true of you and you're projecting it on to somebody else. Now they are masters. And I actually think this is the biggest way that they tell you who they really are. So some examples of projection. They will accuse you constantly of seeing your ex. That's how it was for me. Just thoroughly convinced that I had a relationship with my ex. Couldn't be farther from the truth. Not even possible. But to them, they're going to do that. Now, why do they accuse you of having a relationship with your ex? I'll give you a minute. Well, a second. Right, because they have a relationship with their ex. They're going to say, oh, you're so hung up on her. You're so hung up on him. Because they are, and they're still communicating with their ex. So they're going to accuse you of doing it. They might go through your phone. They're probably obsessed with your phone. They want to know what's in your phone so bad they can't stand it. Why? Because if you only knew what they have in theirs, they have all sort of filters, all sort of fake of apps, of hiding devices, ways they do this, but they know what they're doing, and so they must accuse you of doing it. It's very simple once you understand a narcissist. Anything they accuse you of, they're doing. Period. You'll see this in politics. The two sides, supposed good and evil, or duking it out, the left and the right, and whatever the one accuses the other of doing, particularly the left, but whatever they are accusing the other side of doing, that's what they are actually doing. Almost always. So it's that way with a narcissist, because they're all narcissists. So they're going to go through your phone because they know that their phone is filthy and you couldn't stand and would never want to see what's on their phone. They might say you're a bad partner. You're just unreliable. I can't trust you. That's because it's true of them. They're a bad partner. They're unreliable. You can't trust them. So they're going to project that onto you. And by doing it, they're telling you exactly who they are. They might say this, I don't feel like you're all in on this relationship. When in reality, you're thinking to yourself, that's been my fundamental problem from the get-go. You're not all in. You're not reliable. I can't count on you for anything. I can't make plans. But they're going to say, no, it's you. You're unreliable. You're untrustworthy. You're not all in on this because they know they're not all in on it. And it's very basic. It's one of the biggest things that someone can do to you. One of the strongest is to accuse you of what they're doing because that immediately deflects anything from them and it puts you on defense. And you're thinking, well, if I've got to defend myself about supposed cheating and they're accusing me of this, they can't possibly be the ones doing it, right? They can't possibly be the one doing what they're accusing me of. So it's a protection mechanism. It's a way to really conceal and hide themselves so that you don't try to pry into what they're really doing. That's what projection's all about. That's why, again, in politics, they will make up something, cast it onto the other side, so that you'll never think they're the ones actually doing it. That's a narcissist. They might say, just very crazy, hurtful things. You're a bleeping psycho. Well, in reality, you know they are. You know that when you're talking to them, they're the psychopath. They're the one that's insane, that's evil, that's corrupt, but they're going to tell you that you are. They might accuse you of stalking them. Narcissists always accuse people of stalking, and they always have stalkers themselves. Why do they have stalkers? Because they're revving people up, flirting, trying to rope people in all the time. And some of these people develop attachment to them, and they stalk them. So they know that, but they're going to accuse you of stalking them when in reality, the narcissist is probably stalking you, especially after the relationship. Right now, they're probably stalking you online. That's what they do. So whatever they say is true of you, they're actually telling you it's true of me. So let me close by giving you the best example. This is from my own experience. So guys, a lot of this stuff is, but maybe when you finally had it and you cut them off for good, they gave you a lengthy text message and it said basically, you'll do anything to hide who you really are. You're deeply disturbed. You're evil. You live in darkness. That's the darkness I'm talking about. You'll do anything to conceal yourself. And right then in that moment, just as I knew then, they're talking about themselves. They're telling you exactly who they really are. And it gets back to that first point I made. Times of desperation, times of frustration, and they'll blurt it out. But they'll also project, and whatever they say of you is true of them. So, guys, there's a lot of things that I mentioned here. This is a long video for me, but I hope this is interesting. You see, the truth is the narcissist will always, always tell you in tables, charts, graphs, and a PowerPoint presentation, if you're paying attention, exactly who they are, how dark they are, how evil they are, and whether or not they even identify themselves as narcissists, it hardly matters because well, you know a person by their fruits and what they're fessing up to. So I hope this is interesting. I'd love to hear your comments on the ways that the narcissists told on themselves with you. How'd they do it? What'd they reveal that you went, oh my gosh, I caught them? Or they just told me who they really are. So guys, thanks for watching. Please drop comments below. I'd love to hear from you all. I'll come at you with another one here soon. And until then, God bless.